Sometimes it might be the relationship, and sometimes it might be a wound. It's just knowing where to place the blame when it occurs.
The huge issue has to be we're living in an unprecedented individualistic society where we're just trying to, I guess, find a partner that meets your needs, which is obviously important. But I feel like a perspective shift, and I'd love to get your perspective, is finding somebody that's worthy, that you can devote your life to increasing their well-being, to find somebody that you actually want to be in partnership with because you love giving to them and helping seeing them flourish and blossom, not just because you feel like it's gonna, of course there's a reciprocity, but like finding somebody that you really want to pour yourself into.
Yeah, and I think that it stems from the household. I think, unfortunately, individualism has meant that even in your own households, particularly in London and stuff, they'll have a relationship, even with their own children, where you might have to pay rent at a certain age, and you encourage them to be as independent as possible. And like, we're not going to come and save you. You got to do it all yourself. The problem is, a child learns from a very young age, it's every man for themselves. And as a result, it becomes difficult for them to be truly like invested and altruistic in their relationships and give. Now, people can fall into two strategies. They either become excessive takers or excessive givers. Both are equally toxic. So an excessive giver will feel like, you don't even have to earn the amount that they give you. They give and they give and they give. The problem with that, particularly with people who are anxious, they give endlessly. The problem with that is unconsciously they create a balance sheet of how much they've done for you. And when you don't reciprocate or when you don't appreciate, they have an overreaction. But nobody asked you to give that much. I know that's a harsh reality because our goodness should be rewarded, but sometimes that's coming from a place of need rather than actual genuine altruism. So there's the excessive giver and then there's the excessive taker, somebody who is so comfortable with taking and so frugal with giving. Now, they tend to find each other. These two people tend to find each other. As givers naturally attract takers, and takers naturally attract because they're a perfect match for their own pathologies. The key is to always, you can't make people give more to you. Yeah, you can't make that. If I've given to you and you're not giving anything back, the worst thing I can do is continue to give as a way of role modeling. The best thing I can do is reduce my investment till I match you, or you just have to match your partner's investment. When you match each other's equal investment, there'll be less resentment. But when one person is doing too much, they're going to resent you. One person's taking too much, they're going to disrespect you. So you just have to match each other's investment, I would say.
It really feels like there are two sides on the same coin, And I mean, I'd rather be surrounded with a giver all day, but at the same time, they're both trying to fulfill the same need of how they think that they're going to be able to be worthy or earn love.
Yeah, there's both have a wound, a deprivation wound. It's just nicer to be around a giver than it is to be around a taker. Yeah. But takers are never with two takers. It's an impossibility. Like, one is trying to take, the other one's not giving anything. They don't really find each other. So givers and takers tend to surround each other, except in friendships. Friendships, givers tend to stay together, and takers tend to stay together. But in romantic relationships, the pathologies tend to align.
How do you like to give love in your partnership?
I'm an active service kind of person, so I do like to cook, and I do like to massages, and I like to make sure everything's good, almost like a nurse. And then afterwards I'm like, I'm so tired, no one looks after me, and then I play victim. So I'm like, I'm a giver but I'm keeping score, so I'm a bitch. So I would say that acts of service come very natural to me. It doesn't bother me in the slightest, and I'm constantly aware of what this person might need or whatever he needs, but at the same time I can play martyr. When I'm triggered, I'm like, see, I do so much. So I hold it against in the long run. So that's why it's almost like you have to take with caution with me because I'm a bitch. Yeah. How do you like to give?
I'm actually the same. I love acts of service. To me, like, not that words of affirmation aren't beautiful and can be received, but they honestly really don't do a whole lot for me.
They do nothing for me. I hate compliments. I hate words. I'm like, shut up. Whereas acts, but I don't know how I like to receive, but I know I like to give in that way. I'm also not a big presents person. I don't know what to. I'd rather just do something for you. But words just don't mean anything to me, only because I am so aware that they can be meaningless. They don't have to be true.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an important distinction here because, there's words that can be empty where somebody has an ulterior motive for what they're trying to get out of you by saying certain things, which is very fickle. And you can feel that energy where that's coming versus somebody's like real heartfelt reflection of how you've impacted them. Or, I've experienced that in past relationships, or even people come up to me about the podcast. And I think it is important to be able to receive those and to be
Yeah.
able to acknowledge someone's genuine
Appreciation.
compassion and appreciation. And for me, at the same, like in terms of partnership, there's this real deep love that is expressed through acts of service that you're showing in your works in the world, and how you like, you're really spending your life force, energy, and time into that. So I personally love doing things that help my partner blossom and,
Yeah.
feel seen in that way.
And you receive how? How do you like to receive?
I think I love to receive physical touch
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
acts of service, both
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
You're an action person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like actions over words. And the thing, my problem is I don't appreciate even kind words. I struggle to accept.
What's going on there, Sadia? Come on, can we unpack this a little bit?
Do you know, I get it. People are so nice online, and even when I go somewhere and I'm super, super uncomfortable, and there's a part of me that just goes, oh, and I think what happened is I used to work in a boys' school. I used to teach psychology in a boys' school, and I was like 21 and they were like 18. And so they would be like, oh, Miss, you're so hot. So I got into the habit of thinking compliments are disgusting because it was coming from these dirty little boys. So I ended up just transforming that to everybody. So now I just hate compliments. And it's a real problem because it means I can't really receive compliments, but it means I pay more attention to behaviors than words. So I do like the fact that somebody can't really ignite much attachment from me from their words. They would have to do it with behaviors. So I kind of like it, but it'd be nice if I could get the joy out of compliments that most people get.
Well, I think there's a difference between having healthy self-esteem to where someone's praise or blame really doesn't affect you and how you view yourself, which is healthy. Online, you're going to get a bunch of amazing comments and a bunch of people who just don't understand you, want to project onto you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's important to receive constructive criticism and like listen and have the capacity for that. So you could have that, but then there's also like part of us, I feel like oftentimes that just doesn't believe we're worthy of receiving love in that way. Do you feel like primarily it's just that conditioning of like those old boys for you that like?
I just don't think it's true. I genuinely, for some reason, I just don't think it's true. And so when someone compliments me a lot, I just assume that they're lying to me. So it actually makes me have a disdain towards them rather than appreciation. I know that sounds so bizarre, but the more they compliment me, and I'm like, oh, you're just lying. So isn't that terrible? It's a terrible way to see it.
If I was saying what you were saying right now and you put your psychologist hat on, how would you diagnose what that is? Like, what would you
I'd
say?
say that you don't believe that you're worthy of those things. So you assume the person is lying rather than changing your own core belief about yourself.
Do you think that's true?
No, I don't know. I think what's helping is being online and helping people. It has changed everything. I think on the surface, I can admit that, things are nice and things are great. I can admit that. But I think self-esteem and deep down, I don't know how much I can receive it. I can accept that they might mean it, but I'm just not good at receiving it because I don't know. I think it's a vacuous thing to compliment. I just, maybe because I don't know, this sounds a bit silly, but a lot of the time on my podcast and stuff, sometimes people can focus on the aesthetics and they can be like, oh, hair, makeup, blah, blah, good or bad. They can focus on that.